6 months had passed since the demonstration at Earth's doorstep, and the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. The massive alien fleet had withdrawn after experiencing humanity's power firsthand. But the political consequences were only beginning to unfold. Some species had retreated in fear, while others approached Earth with newfound respect and curiosity. Dr. Kyungmin Park walked through the corridors of the new Institute for Psychic Defense Studies, built in orbit around Earth's moon. The facility was unlike anything humanity had ever constructed, a joint research station where humans worked alongside alien volunteers to study Mordak technology. The irony was not lost on him that weapons designed to inspire terror had become tools for building cooperation. In the main laboratory, Kyungmin found his research team hard at work. The group included some of the galaxy's brightest minds, beings who had overcome their natural fear of the weapons to help unlock their secrets. Zilona, a graceful representative from the peaceful Thessarian Republic, was calibrating sensors with steady tentacles while her large, thoughtful eyes studied the readouts. "Good morning, Dr. Park," she said in her melodious voice. "We have made significant progress on the defensive applications you requested." Nearby, Vortek of the Draknari worked at another console. The massive reptilian warrior had been one of the first to volunteer for the program, surprising everyone with his desire to understand rather than destroy the weapons that had terrified his people. "The fear-blocking frequencies are showing promise," Vortek rumbled in his deep voice. "My people may finally be able to approach these devices without panic if we can perfect the countermeasures." Kyungmin smiled at the unlikely partnership. "What about the communication applications?" Zilona's excitement was visible in the way her tentacles moved more quickly. "That is the most remarkable discovery. The same psychic channels that carry fear can also carry other emotions. We have successfully transmitted feelings of calm, safety, and even joy between different species." The work at the Institute represented everything humanity had hoped to achieve. Instead of using the Mordak weapons as tools of domination, they had become instruments of understanding. The research had already led to breakthroughs in interspecies communication and therapy for trauma survivors. Meanwhile, on Haven Prime, Ambassador Yoon Song was finalizing the details of what would become known as the Terra Accords. The negotiation process had taken months of careful diplomacy, but the results would reshape galactic civilization. The conference room was filled with representatives from over 200 species. Many were the same beings who had voted to destroy humanity just months before, but their attitudes had changed dramatically. Fear had been replaced by grudging respect, and in some cases genuine admiration. Chancellor Kethmos of the Draknari Empire spoke first. His golden scales had lost some of their luster since the demonstration, and his voice carried a humility that had never been there before. "The Draknari Empire formally recognizes humanity's unique role in galactic affairs," he declared. "We propose that Earth be granted permanent membership in the Galactic Security Council, with special responsibilities for managing dangerous technologies." Prime Minister Velnara of the Orion States glowed with soft blue light as she added her support. "The Orion States agree. Humanity has shown remarkable restraint with power that could have been used for conquest. They have earned the right to help guide galactic policy." Yoonbi stood to address the assembly. "Earth accepts these responsibilities, but with conditions. We propose the creation of joint research facilities where all species can work together to understand ancient technologies. We also suggest the formation of mixed defense fleets to protect smaller civilizations from any future threats." The Terra Accords were signed 3 days later, establishing humanity as the official guardians of Mordak technology, while creating new frameworks for galactic cooperation. The agreement included provisions for shared research, joint military operations, and cultural exchange programs that would benefit all species. The real test of the new order came when reports arrived of Mordak ruins discovered in the Outer Rim territories. A small colony of peaceful traders had found what appeared to be another weapons cache, but they lacked the resources to investigate safely. Admiral Subin Kang received the mission orders at her new headquarters on Luna Station. As head of the newly formed Galactic Defense Initiative, she commanded mixed crews of humans and aliens working together for the first time in galactic history. "We have our first real mission," she announced to her senior staff. The briefing room contained beings from a dozen different species. all wearing the new GDI uniform that symbolized their shared purpose. Commander Hyunwoo Jeon, her human second in command, studied the mission details. The colony is requesting assistance with archaeological excavation and security. Intelligence suggests there may be active Mordak weapons on site. Lieutenant Kavesh, a young Thessarian officer, consulted her tactical analysis. The system is in disputed territory. Both the Rigel Federation and the Vegan Alliance claim ownership, but neither wants to risk encountering Mordak technology without human support. That is exactly why the GDI was created, Subin replied, to handle situations that no single species can manage alone. Prepare the fleet for departure. The mission to the Outer Rim proved to be everything the Terra Accords had promised. Human archaeologists worked alongside alien experts to safely excavate the ruins. When they found more Mordak weapons, human crew members handled them while their alien colleagues provided scientific analysis from a safe distance. The weapons were successfully contained and transported to the Institute for study. But more importantly, the mission proved that the new system of cooperation could work. Species that had been enemies for generations worked side by side, united by their shared respect for humanity's unique abilities. As the months passed, more joint missions followed. The GDI responded to pirate attacks, natural disasters, and archaeological discoveries throughout the galaxy. Each success strengthened the bonds between species and validated the new order that had emerged from humanity's demonstration of power and restraint. Dr. Kyung-min Park often thought about the irony of their situation as he watched humans and aliens working together in his laboratory. The weapons designed by an extinct species of hunters had become the foundation for the most successful period of galactic cooperation in recorded history. One evening, as he observed Zelona and Vortek collaborating on a new defensive system, he realized something profound. The Mordak had created weapons of fear, but humanity had transformed them into tools of hope. Where the ancient hunters had used terror to dominate their prey, humans had used understanding to build bridges between species. The final scene of this remarkable transformation took place in the Institute's main auditorium, where Dr. Hyun-Soo Kim stood before a mixed audience of human and alien researchers. He was training a new generation of scientists and diplomats who would carry on the work of protecting dangerous technologies while fostering galactic unity. The Mordak weapons taught us something important, he said to his attentive students. Power without wisdom leads to extinction, as it did for their creators. But power combined with compassion and restraint can build something greater than any single species could achieve alone. In the front row, a young human student raised her hand. Professor, do you think the Mordak would be surprised by what we have done with their weapons? Hyun-Soo smiled, looking around at the diverse group of beings working together in harmony. I think they would be amazed. They created tools of fear and domination, but we have turned them into instruments of cooperation and peace. Perhaps that is humanity's greatest strength. Not our immunity to fear, but our ability to transform terror into hope. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest courage was not in facing fear, but in choosing mercy when you had the power to inspire terror. Humanity had shown that true strength came not from the ability to terrify others, but from the wisdom to build something better instead. The weapons that had once terrified everyone had become the foundation for a new age of galactic civilization, proving that even the darkest tools could be transformed into instruments of light when wielded by those who chose hope over fear. News traveled fast through the galaxy. Within hours of the alien representatives leaving Kepler 442b, emergency broadcasts filled every communication channel. The discovery of functional Mordak weapons sent shockwaves through civilized space. Most species had heard stories about the ancient hunters, but everyone thought their weapons were myths. Captain Ji-Hoon Nam received his orders while his ship was patrolling the outer colonies. The Earth Defense Corps frigate Resilience was 3 days away from Kepler 442b when the urgent message arrived. He read the orders twice before calling his senior staff to the bridge. We have new orders, Ji-Hoon announced to his crew. We are to secure the research station New Horizon and protect the archaeological team. Tactical Officer Ye-Jin Woo looked up from her console. What kind of threat are we expecting, Captain? The kind that might end humanity's place in the galaxy, Ji-Hoon replied grimly. The team has found weapons that only humans can use. The Galactic Council is not happy about this. Engineer Dong-Hyun Ko scratched his head. Weapons only we can use? How is that possible? Medical Officer Ha-Young Shin was already pulling up files on her medical scanner. I need more information. What makes these weapons special? Ji-hoon shared the initial reports from Dr. Kim's team. As his crew read about the crystalline weapons and their effect on alien minds, the bridge fell silent. The implications were enormous. So these Mordak weapons cause fear in every species except humans? Yejin asked. That is what the reports say. The alien representatives ran away in terror just from being near one of them. Ha-Young was studying the medical data. This is fascinating. If the weapons work on psychic fear responses, there must be something different about human brain structure. The Resilience arrived at Kepler 442b to find the system already crowded with ships. Vessels from dozens of different species surrounded the planet, all keeping their distance from the research station. Most were just watching, but some showed clear signs of military preparation. Incoming transmission from the station, reported Communications Officer Ensign Park. Dr. Kim's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired and worried. Captain Nam, thank you for coming. The situation here is getting dangerous. What is your status, Doctor? We have been contacted by 17 different governments in the past day. Some want to buy the weapons. Others want us to destroy them. The Altarian Federation has threatened to attack if we do not surrender the artifacts immediately. Ji-hoon studied the ships surrounding them. How many weapons did you find? 12 complete units and several damaged ones. But Captain, we have made another discovery. My medical officer should speak with Dr. Shin. Ha-Young stepped forward. What have you learned, Doctor? Dr. Kim looked uncomfortable. We ran tests on ourselves after the alien reaction. The weapons emit a specific type of energy that affects the fear centers of most brains. But human brains are different. We have a mutation that makes us immune. A mutation? Ha-Young asked, her interest growing. Something that happened in human evolution thousands of years ago. A change in our neural structure that other species never developed. It makes us immune to psychic fear attacks. Ji-hoon felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying that humans evolved to fight these weapons? That is one possibility. Or maybe we evolved alongside something that used similar attacks. The point is, we are the only known species that can handle Mordak technology safely. A new alarm sounded on the bridge. Yejin checked her tactical display. Captain, we have incoming ships. Military formation, moving fast. The new arrivals were sleek warships painted in the deep red colors of the Dreknari Empire. They took position around the research station in a clear blockade formation. Incoming transmission, Ensign Park reported. The screen flickered to show a reptilian face with golden scales and fierce yellow eyes. Human vessels, this is Admiral Kethmar of the Dreknari Third Fleet. You will surrender the Mordak weapons immediately or face the consequences. Ji-hoon stood up. Admiral, this is Captain Nam of the Earth Defense Corps. These weapons were found in human space by a human research team. We have every right to study them. Rights? The Dreknari Admiral laughed harshly. You speak of rights while holding weapons that could terrorize the entire galaxy. No single species should possess such power. We have not threatened anyone, Ji-hoon replied calmly. Your very existence with those weapons is a threat. The Galactic Council will vote tomorrow on what action to take. Until then, you will not leave this system. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. More ships were arriving every hour, creating a massive fleet around the planet. Ji-hoon realized they were now trapped. Ha-Young had been working at her medical station during the conversation. Captain, I have been analyzing the data from the research station. I think I understand how these weapons work. Explain. The Mordak were apex predators, but they did not hunt with claws or teeth. They hunted with fear. These weapons project psychic energy that triggers the most basic survival instinct in living creatures, the urge to run away. Most species freeze up completely when exposed to this energy. Dong-Hyun looked puzzled. But why does it not affect humans? Because at some point in our evolution, we developed a resistance to psychic attacks. Maybe we faced something similar on Earth long ago, or maybe it was just random chance. But the result is that where other species feel overwhelming terror, we feel almost nothing. Ji-hoon thought about this. So these weapons were designed to be the ultimate hunting tool for the Mordak. Exactly. They would paralyze their prey with fear, making them easy to catch. But against humans, they would be almost useless as weapons of terror. Ye Jin had been monitoring the growing fleet around them. "Captain, we now have ships from 12 different species out there. Some are just observing, but others are clearly military. If they decide to attack, we would not stand a chance," Ji-hoon finished. "One frigate against half the galaxy's navies." Dr. Kim called again from the station. "Captain, we have a problem. Some of my team want to destroy the weapons to prevent a war. Others think we should keep them for humanity's defense. We need guidance." Ji-hoon considered their options. The weapons were clearly powerful, but holding on to them might start the first galactic war in centuries. On the other hand, giving them up would leave humanity defenseless if relations with other species turned hostile. "Doctor, I need you to run more tests. Find out exactly what these weapons can do. How powerful are they? Can they be used for more than just causing fear?" "We will start immediately, Captain." As the call ended, Ha-young approached Ji-hoon. "Captain, I have another theory about why humans are immune to these weapons." "What is it?" "What if we were not just immune to them? What if humans were meant to use them? Think about it. We are the only species that can handle them safely. We are the only ones who can study them without going insane from terror. Maybe the Mordak designed these weapons specifically for a species like us." The idea was disturbing. Ji-hoon looked out at the growing fleet of alien ships surrounding them. "You think the Mordak knew about humans somehow?" "I think they knew that someday someone like us would find their weapons. And when that happened, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever." Outside the viewports, more ships continued to arrive. The situation was escalating beyond anything humanity had ever faced. Ji-hoon realized that the next few days would determine not just the fate of the research team, but the future of the entire human species in galactic society. The weapons that terrified everyone else might be humanity's salvation, or their doom. The morning shift alarm echoed through the research station New Horizon as Dr. Hyun-soo Kim floated down the main corridor. Outside the viewport, the blue-green planet Kepler 442b spun slowly beneath them. He had been studying the alien ruins on its surface for 3 months now, but today felt different. Today they would finally break through the sealed chamber they had discovered last week. Hyun-soo pushed himself toward the briefing room where his team waited. Deon Park sat reviewing translation notes on her tablet. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the standard blue research uniform that all station crew used. Across from her, Tae-min Lee cleaned his equipment with careful precision. As the team's weapons specialist, he took care of all dangerous artifacts they might find. Sora Choi sat at the communication console, monitoring signals from the planet below and checking for any incoming ships. "Good morning, everyone," Hyun-soo said as he secured himself in his chair. "Today we open the chamber. Are we ready?" Daeyeon looked up from her tablet. "The symbols around the entrance are definitely warning signs. They say something about danger and death, but the writing is old, maybe thousands of years." Taemin nodded as he packed his tools. The metal door is incredibly thick. Whatever they wanted to keep inside must have been very important. Or very dangerous. Sora turned from her console. "I've been monitoring all frequencies. No unusual energy readings from the planet. The orbital sensors show normal levels." Hyun-soo smiled. "Then we go down today." "The shuttle is ready?" "Yes, sir," Sora replied. "Flight time is 30 minutes. 2 hours later, the team stood before the ancient chamber deep within the alien ruins. The structure was made of smooth black stone that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with an inner blue light. The door itself was a massive circular disc, perfectly fitted into the stone wall. Taemin attached his cutting tools to the door's edge. "This metal is unlike anything in our databases. It is harder than titanium but lighter than aluminum." He started the laser cutter and bright sparks flew as the beam slowly cut through the ancient metal. Daeyeon studied the symbols with her scanner. "These warnings are very specific. They talk about weapons that bring fear and death. But there are other symbols too. Something about hunters and prey." The cutting took 3 hours. When the door finally fell inward with a heavy crash, cold air rushed out of the chamber. The team's helmet lights revealed a room filled with crystalline structures arranged on stone pedestals. Hyun-soo stepped forward first. "Incredible. Look at those formations." The crystals were beautiful and strange. Each one was about the size of a human arm, with smooth surfaces that caught and reflected their lights. But something was different about them. They pulsed with their own internal glow, shifting from deep blue to bright white in a slow rhythm. A low humming sound filled the chamber, so quiet they almost did not notice it. "The energy readings are off the charts," Sora said, checking her instruments. "But the radiation levels are safe. Whatever these are, they are not harmful to us." Taemin approached one of the pedestals carefully. "These look like weapons, but I have never seen anything like them. No triggers, no obvious way to hold them." Dayun was translating symbols on the walls. "The writing here talks about the Mordak. They were hunters, apex predators. These crystals were their tools. But the Mordak have been extinct for thousands of years." Yunsu felt drawn to the nearest crystal. Something about it seemed familiar, though he had never seen anything like it before. "I want to try something," he said, reaching toward the crystal. "Wait," Taemin called out. "We should scan it first. Test for traps or security systems." But Hyunsu was already touching the crystal. The moment his fingers made contact, the humming grew louder. The crystal's glow brightened, and suddenly the air around it shimmered. A holographic display appeared, showing complex patterns and symbols that hurt to look at directly. "Hyunsu, get back!" Dayun shouted. "The energy readings are spiking." But Hyunsu felt no danger. The crystal was warm in his hands, and the holographic display seemed to respond to his thoughts. When he concentrated on the symbols, they rearranged themselves into new patterns. The humming became almost musical. "This is amazing," he whispered. "It is reading my mind somehow, responding to my neural patterns." Sora was frantically working her communication equipment. "We have incoming ships. 3 vessels, unknown design, approaching fast." Through the chamber's small windows, they could see lights in the sky growing brighter. The ships were sleek and silver, moving with impossible grace through the atmosphere. They landed near the ruins within minutes. Galactic Council ships, Taemin identified. "Looks like our discovery has attracted attention." The team gathered their equipment quickly and made their way to the surface. 3 figures waited beside the landed ships. One was tall and insect-like, with multiple arms and glittering compound eyes. This was Vextar, a representative from the Altarian Federation. The second figure seemed to be made of pure energy, shifting and glowing in a vaguely humanoid shape. Nimola of the Centauri Collective rarely took physical form. "Dr. Kim," Vextar spoke through a translation device. "We detected unusual energy signatures from this location." "What have you discovered?" Hyunsu still held the crystal weapon. He had tried to put it down, but it seemed to stick to his hands. "We found what appears to be an ancient weapons cache. The crystals respond to human neural patterns." As he spoke, both alien representatives suddenly stepped back. Vextar's compound eyes showed clear signs of distress, and Nimola's energy form flickered unstably. "Put that thing away," Vextar hissed. I feel terror just looking at it. My mind screams danger." Nimola's voice came as electronic tones. "The psychic emanations are overwhelming. How can you humans stand so close to such a thing?" Hyunsu looked at his team. Dayun, Taemin, and Sora stood normally around him. None of them showed any signs of fear or distress. "We feel nothing unusual. Just a slight tingling sensation." "Impossible," Vextar said, backing further away. "That weapon projects pure fear. It is designed to paralyze the mind of any living creature, yet you hold it as if it were nothing." The crystal in Hyunsu's hands pulsed brighter, and both alien representatives fell to their knees. Vextar made sounds of terror while Nimola's form began to dissolve at the edges. "Turn it off. Make it stop," Vextar pleaded. Hyunsu concentrated on the crystal, trying to understand its controls. Gradually, the glow faded and the humming stopped. The aliens immediately began to recover, though they remained at a safe distance. "This changes everything," Nimola said quietly. "If humans are immune to Mordak weapons, then the balance of power in the galaxy has shifted." Vextar was already moving toward his ship. "The Galactic Council must know of this immediately. This discovery will shake the foundations of our civilization." As the alien ships lifted off and disappeared into space, Hyunsu's team stood in silence. They were still processing what had just happened. The weapon in Hyunsu's hands looked harmless, but they had just seen it terrify 2 of the galaxy's most advanced species. "What have we found?" Dayun whispered. Hyunsu looked at the crystal, then at his teammates. "I think we just discovered that humans are very different from everyone else in the galaxy. And that might not be a good thing." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called for the first time in 50 years. Haven Prime, the massive neutral station that served as the galaxy's diplomatic center, buzzed with activity as representatives from hundreds of species arrived. the station's gleaming corridors filled with beings of every shape and size, all talking about the same thing, the human discovery that threatened to change everything. Ambassador Yunbi Song sat in the human delegation's quarters, reviewing her notes one final time. She had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 10 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Across from her, military advisor Sung-Ho Bae cleaned his dress uniform while scientist Yuri Jung worked frantically on her presentation materials. "The preliminary vote count is not good," Sung-Ho said quietly. 87 species have already declared they want the weapons destroyed or surrendered to Council control. Yuri looked up from her data tablets. "But they do not understand what these weapons really are. If I can just explain the science behind them, maybe some will change their minds." Yunbi shook her head. "This is not about science anymore. It is about fear. Every species in the galaxy is terrified that humans now have weapons they cannot defend against." The Great Council Chamber was a marvel of engineering, a vast spherical room where representatives could float or stand according to their species' needs. At the center sat Chancellor Kethmos of the Draknari Empire, his golden scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. Beside him floated Prime Minister Velnara of the Orion States, her ethereal form shifting colors with her emotions. When Yunbi entered the chamber with her delegation, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. All eyes turned toward the humans as they took their assigned positions. The weight of hundreds of stares pressed down on them. Chancellor Kethmos called the session to order with a deep, rumbling voice. "We gather today to address a threat to galactic peace. The human species has discovered weapons of unimaginable terror, artifacts that can paralyze the mind of any civilized being. We must decide what action to take." Prime Minister Velnara's form glowed brighter as she spoke. "These Mordak weapons represent everything we have worked to leave behind. They are tools of fear and domination, designed by a species of hunters who saw all others as prey. No single civilization should control such power." Representative after representative stood to voice their concerns. The insectoid ambassador Zilthek of the Vegan Alliance buzzed his words through a translator. "My people remember the old stories of the Mordak. They hunted us like animals, using fear as their primary weapon. To see these tools in the hands of any species brings back nightmares we thought were buried forever." The crystalline being who spoke for the Silicon Collective resonated its thoughts directly into the chamber's translation system. "Logic dictates that weapons designed to induce terror have no place in civilized society. They serve no purpose but to cause suffering and domination over others." Hours passed as speaker after speaker condemned the human possession of Mordak technology. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded economic sanctions. A few suggested that humans should be expelled from galactic society entirely until they surrendered the weapons. Finally, Chancellor Kethmos turned to the human delegation. "Ambassador Song, you have heard the concerns of this council. What is Earth's response?" Yunbi stood slowly, feeling the weight of her species' future on her shoulders. "Honored representatives, I understand your fears. But we must remember that humans did not create these weapons. We discovered them through legitimate archaeological research in our own territory. But you are the only ones who can use them," interrupted Admiral Vostel of the Centauri Collective. "That makes you a threat to everyone else, does it?" Yunbi asked calmly. "In the 3 days since we found these weapons, have we threatened anyone? Have we made demands? Have we used them aggressively in any way?" Yuri stepped forward with her scientific data. "If I may address the council, our research shows that these weapons are not as dangerous as everyone believes." A wave of angry sounds filled the chamber. Chancellor Kethmos had to call for order twice before Yuri could continue. The Mordak weapons work by triggering fear responses in most species' brains, but they do not actually cause physical harm. The terror you feel is real, but the weapons themselves cannot kill or injure anyone directly. "Terror is harm enough," shouted Representative Klextar of the Rigel Federation. "A weapon that can paralyze entire populations with fear is worse than any bomb." Sung-Ho moved to stand beside Yunbi. "The Council seems to forget that humans have been part of galactic society for over a century. We have never shown aggressive tendencies toward other species. We have always worked for peace and cooperation." Prime Minister Velnara's form flashed red with anger. "That was before you held the power to terrorize every other species in the galaxy. Power changes everyone, not humans," Yunbi said firmly. We offer to share our research with the Council. We propose joint study groups to understand these weapons better. We even suggest that other species help us decide how to use this technology responsibly. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives seemed interested in the human proposal, but most appeared skeptical. Chancellor Kethmos allowed the debates to continue for another hour before calling for quiet. The human proposal has been noted, he said, but the majority of this council believes that no single species should control Mordak technology, regardless of their intentions. We will now vote on the following resolution. Earth must surrender all Mordak weapons to Council custody within 30 days, or face economic and military sanctions. The vote was swift and overwhelming. 412 species voted in favor of the resolution. Only 18 voted against it, mostly smaller civilizations that depended on human trade. 23 abstained. Yunbi felt her heart sink as the numbers were announced. She had hoped that reason and diplomacy might prevail, but fear had won instead. Chancellor Kethmos turned to her with an expression that might have been regret. Ambassador Song, the Council has spoken. Earth has 30 days to comply with this resolution. Failure to do so will result in a galaxy-wide embargo on all human activities. Military action may follow if deemed necessary. What you are asking is impossible, Yunbi replied. These weapons respond only to human neural patterns. Even if we wanted to give them to the Council, they would be useless in anyone else's hands. Then destroy them, Prime Minister Velnara said coldly. And if we refuse, then humanity will find itself alone in the galaxy, Chancellor Kethmos rumbled. Cut off from all trade, all communication, all cooperation with galactic civilization. Your colonies will be isolated, your ships will be barred from Council space, and your people will become outcasts. The session ended in chaos as representatives began discussing implementation of the sanctions. Some species were already talking about mobilizing their fleets. Others debated the ethics of cutting off an entire civilization from galactic society. As Yunbi left the chamber with her delegation, she knew that everything had changed. Humanity had 30 days to decide its future, surrender the weapons and accept permanent second-class status in the galaxy, or stand alone against everyone else. On the journey back to Earth, Sung-ho stared out the viewport at the stars. What do we do now? Yunbi considered the question carefully. We prepare for the possibility that humanity might have to defend itself against the entire galaxy. Yuri looked up from her research notes. The weapons are powerful, but we only have 12 of them, against hundreds of species with thousands of ships. I know, Yunbi said quietly. We need a miracle. Or we need to find a way to make the galaxy understand that humans are not their enemy. As their ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying news of the Council's ultimatum back to Earth, none of them could imagine how dramatically the situation was about to change. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, but they had forgotten one important thing. Humans had never learned how to surrender. 28 days had passed since the Galactic Council's ultimatum. Earth's answer was simple and clear. Humanity would not surrender the Mordak weapons. The response sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and now massive fleets gathered at the edge of the solar system like storm clouds before a hurricane. Commander Wu Jin Lim stood on the bridge of the experimental ship Defiant, watching the enemy forces assemble through the main view screen. The ship was humanity's newest design, built specifically to carry one of the modified Mordak weapons. It was smaller than a traditional warship, but packed with advanced technology that pushed human engineering to its limits. Status report. Wu Jin called to his crew. Weapons Officer Soo Jin Kim looked up from her console. The Mordak weapon is fully charged and ready. All systems are operating normally. The amplification array is working better than our tests predicted. Navigator Jae-sung. O studied his star charts carefully. We are positioned exactly where Earth Command requested. The enemy fleet is spread across a wide formation, but they are all within range of our weapon system. Communications specialist Bo-Ra Han monitored the countless signals flying between the alien ships. They are coordinating their attack plans. Admiral Krestar of the Draknari Empire is in overall command, with Fleet Commander Othanina of the Centauri Collective as second in command. They have ships from over 60 different species. Wu Jin nodded grimly. The alien armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 3,000 warships hung in space beyond Pluto's orbit, representing every major civilization and many smaller ones. They had come to force humanity's surrender and seize the Mordak weapons. Incoming transmission from the flagship, Bora announced. The view screen flickered to show Admiral Krestar's imposing reptilian form. His golden scales were marked with battle scars and his yellow eyes burned with determination. Behind him, the ghostly figure of Fleet Commander Othanina floated like living starlight. Human vessel. This is Admiral Krestar commanding the Joint Galactic Fleet. You are ordered to surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. This is your final warning. Wujin stepped forward calmly. Admiral, this is Commander Lim of the Earth Defense Corps. We cannot comply with your demand. These weapons belong to humanity by right of discovery. Rights? Krestar laughed harshly. You speak of rights while holding instruments of terror? Your 30 days have expired. Surrender now or we will take the weapons by force. And if we refuse? Fleet Commander Othanina's form pulsed with angry energy as she spoke. Then your species will learn what happens to those who threaten galactic peace. We have enough firepower here to reduce your entire solar system to dust. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Defiant in tense silence. Through the view screen, they could see the alien fleet beginning to move into attack formation. Thousands of ships spread across space like a vast net, preparing to close around Earth's defenses. Sujin checked her weapons display again. Commander, the fleet is moving into position. They will be in optimal firing range in 10 minutes. Jae-sung plotted intercept courses on his navigation screen. Earth's defense fleet is moving to engage, but we only have 200 ships. Against 3,000, we will not last long. Bora was monitoring emergency frequencies. Sir, I am receiving messages from Earth Command. They are asking if we are ready to proceed with the demonstration. Wujin took a deep breath. The plan they were about to execute was desperate and dangerous. No one knew exactly what would happen when they activated the modified Mordak weapon at full power against such a large fleet. But it was humanity's only chance to avoid total destruction. Signal Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them we are ready. Begin the demonstration. The alien fleet was now close enough that individual ships were visible on the screen. Massive Draknari battlecruisers moved alongside sleek Centauri destroyers. Insectoid hive ships from the Vegan Alliance buzzed around crystal formations, piloted by the Silicon Collective. It was a gathering of every major military power in known space. Admiral Krestar's voice boomed across all frequencies. Attention, human forces. This is your last chance to surrender. Lay down your arms and prepare to be occupied. Refuse, and we will destroy every human military asset in this system. No response from Earth, Bora reported. They are maintaining radio silence as planned. The alien fleet began its final approach. Energy weapons powered up across thousands of ships, creating a light show that outshone nearby stars. The attack would begin in less than 5 minutes. Sujin, Wujin said quietly. Activate the weapon. The weapons officer's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision. Deep within the Defiant, the modified Mordak crystal began to glow. The ship's special amplification array surrounded it with focusing mirrors and energy collectors, designed to boost its psychic output 1,000-fold. Weapon is active, Sujin reported. All systems showing green. Ready to fire on your command. Wujin looked one last time at the massive enemy fleet. In a few moments, everything would change. Either humanity would survive this crisis, or they would be destroyed for their defiance. Fire, he commanded. The Mordak weapon activated with no visible beam or projectile. Instead, a wave of pure psychic energy exploded outward from the Defiant at the speed of light. It washed over the alien fleet in seconds, passing through their shields and armor as if they did not exist. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across 3,000 ships, alien crews suddenly experienced terror beyond their worst nightmares. Draknari warriors who had never known fear collapsed screaming. Centauri energy beings flickered and nearly dissolved from panic. The insectoid crews of the Vegan Alliance froze in complete paralysis. On every bridge, in every control room, panic took hold. Weapons officers forgot their targeting procedures. Navigation crews abandoned their posts. Commanders found themselves unable to think clearly through waves of overwhelming dread. Admiral Krestar himself was on his knees, his powerful form shaking with terror he could not understand or control. Fleet Commander Othanina's energy matrix destabilized so badly that she nearly lost physical cohesion entirely. The Great Fleet, poised to attack Earth just moments before, became helpless. Ships drifted off course as their crews cowered in fear. Some vessels collided with each other as navigation systems went unmanned. Others simply shut down completely as their crews abandoned their stations. But aboard the Defiant, the human crew remained completely unaffected. Wu Jin watched the chaos with calm professionalism, while his officers continued their duties normally. "Bo-Ra," he said, "open a channel to the entire fleet. Channel open?" "Sir." Bo-Ra's voice carried across space to every ship in the alien armada. Her words were calm and clear, cutting through the psychic terror like a beacon of hope. "Attention all ships. This is the Earth Defense Corps vessel Defiant. You are currently experiencing the effects of a Mordak weapon at minimum power. We could have set it to maximum and left you all permanently paralyzed with fear. Instead, we chose mercy." She paused to let her words sink in. "This demonstration shows what humans could do if we chose to be your enemies. But we do not want to be your enemies. We want to be your partners in peace. The weapon will be deactivated in 60 seconds. Use this time to consider whether you really want to fight a species that can do this to you." Wu Jin nodded to Su Jin, who began the shutdown sequence. Gradually, the psychic pressure faded from space around the fleet. Slowly, alien crews began to recover from their terror. They returned to their stations with shaking hands and confused minds, trying to understand what had just happened to them. The demonstration lasted only 5 minutes, but it changed everything. The mighty galactic fleet, assembled to crush humanity, now floated helplessly in space. They had seen what humans could do, and they finally understood why the Mordak weapons were so feared. On the bridge of the Defiant, Wu Jin watched as alien ships began to pull back from Earth. The message was clear. Humanity had shown its power, but also its restraint. The question now was whether the galaxy would choose wisdom or continue down the path of war.